Hello, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We're going to talk about some wealth management concerns and challenges facing women today and how we can help you take a more proactive and holistic approach to financial planning so you can pursue your financial goals no matter what your life situation is. As we move through today's discussion, I want to emphasize that last point. Wealth management and financial planning is about you and bringing clarity to your unique financial situation. So whether you're looking to grow and protect your wealth, it's not just about returns. It's about you and how you use your money to provide security in your life and the lives of those you care about today and tomorrow. Before we go deeper into today's discussion, I want to share a few recent statistics. 90% of women will become the sole financial decision maker in their lifetime. By 2026, women will control over 50% of the wealth in Canada. While female workforce participation continues to rise, from 1 in 5 working age women in 1950 to 4 in 5 today, on average, women only earn 87 cents to men's $1. About 67% of care provided to older adults is done by women. 24% of women prefer as little volatility as possible versus 17% of men. 60% of women aged 45 to 54 do not have a personal financial plan. Well, those are just a few points of context, and women should not be bucketed as one voice or statistics. It's critical to understand that your needs, goals, and attitudes towards money and investing are unique. Realities you face along your life journey, whether it's the wage gap or increased caregiving responsibilities, will impact your financial well being. So, in an industry traditionally tailored to the financial planning lives of men, this matters significantly because women do have different needs to consider. So, what I'll cover in the rest of this video is talk a little bit about myself and the firm that I represent, and we'll talk about why the right financial advice matters in your life and your goals, and we'll talk about 5 key financial topics that matter to women. We'll go through 3 case studies, and then we will wrap it up. So, my name is Tyrell McClelland. I'm an executive financial consultant with IG Wealth Management, and I have been working in this role since 2016. IG Wealth Management has been around for almost 100 years. We have over 2,000 advisor practices across Canada, and we have committed to having at least one certified financial planner designated professional on each team. From pay disparity or unique aging considerations to finding the right financial advisor, women face distinctive challenges and opportunities when it comes to maintaining and building wealth. The important thing to, of course, preface that I mentioned earlier is that women aren't a homogenous group. The right financial advice should always focus on your life and your unique goals. That said, let's discuss some of the realities that women should be more aware of when it comes to your financial planning needs. While women continue to outlive men, they also retire earlier. Also, later years may not be healthy years, so there's often a greater need to plan for the cost of care and disability. For example, 72% of Canadians living with Alzheimer's disease are women. Whether you're married or single, it's important to evaluate the right form of protection for you, whether it's life insurance, critical illness, or long-term care insurance. Also, getting your powers of attorney in order is very important. Are you accounting for the risk or cost of inflation? Inflation reduces your purchasing power, so your retirement saving strategy should be designed to help your money grow in order to keep up with the future cost of living. Experiences of paid work tend to be different from those of men, shaped to a greater extent by caregiving roles over the working lifetimes. Potential earnings may be impacted by work disruptions and interruptions, often triggered by the need to care for children, a spouse, or parents. Potential impacts of career timeouts include reduced income and investments, shorter time frame for investment growth, lower employer and/or CPP contributions, and RSP contribution limits. Female workforce participation, including both corporate level roles and entrepreneurship, continues to rise. But as many of us are well aware, women's employment earnings are still lower than men's. So, especially when thinking about building wealth and retirement planning for longer lives, it's important to understand the financial implications because women are more likely to have interrupted careers because of caregiving responsibilities and less likely to protect against the loss of earnings using life insurance. More likely, they're conservative investors. So, is your financial planner addressing that, and should you be saving more? Lastly, a significant intergenerational wealth will be inherited by women over the next 40 years. So, some key considerations include communication of family values, discussing charitable giving and philanthropic goals, understanding the tax implications, so talk to a tax expert, and have you considered all assets, including vacation properties? You likely have multiple financial goals and priorities, and they may change as your life changes. Here are some of the key priorities where women tend to place higher importance compared to men, especially as it pertains to thinking about financial outcomes and priorities in terms of goals and investing for the long term. That said, your goals and priorities are personal to you, and that's why it's important to consider your own goals holistically to help ensure you can build a financial plan to support them. Especially as women tend to be the caregivers up and down generations, it's important to ensure that you're also focused on the long-term health and care of yourself. Often the advisory relationship that was in place during a marriage will shift when that marriage ends, whether as the result of the death of a spouse or divorce. The underlying reason why newly single women seek new financial advisors is that they weren't being well supported by their previous advisor. They weren't being heard, or the unique goals and objectives weren't being reflected in their financial plans, meaning their plans were out of sync with their lives. Unfortunately, this is something we see often. True holistic financial planning covers many aspects of your life, both the expected and unexpected. When you meet with an advisor, their first step should be to get to know you, to discover and clarify your dreams, goals, and concerns. This will then guide the exploration of the options and scenarios most relevant to your financial well-being. For the purpose of today's video, we'll focus on 5 key topics and strategies that women should be aware of. Over your lifetime, your personal situation is likely to shift many times. That means that not only will your goals and priorities change, but the risks you're facing and must plan for must also change. This, of course, is true for both men and women. That said, in the context of the life needs and financial priorities more unique to women that we discussed on earlier slides, we wanted to focus on these 5 topics. Some of you may have heard the phrase, longer lives, smaller nest eggs. This is critical to keep in mind when building your wealth and planning for successful retirement. We noted earlier that in Canada, women generally need to finance more years of retirement with lower average earnings and savings due to living longer than men, more likely to have interrupted careers, or typically being more risk-averse and conservative investors. Having a comprehensive estate plan and up-to-date will is a critical topic, often overlooked by both men and women. However, women are often harder affected financially when coming through a divorce or navigating blended families. Also, increasingly we find women in situations having to provide care for the elderly parents and helping them navigate their own estate which wasn't properly in place. It can be extremely stressful, especially if you're looking ahead to your own retirement and perhaps still supporting grown children. It's critical to ensure that you have a plan in place for yourself and your loved ones. Although women's labor force participation has increased with higher education and entrepreneurship, women's employment earnings are still lower than men's, or when starting a business, they may not be getting the proper financial guidance that integrates their business goals with their personal needs if the financial business advice is geared towards men. Lastly, charitable giving. As mentioned earlier, women often place a greater importance on integrating philanthropy into their financial plan. As we'll discuss, it's critical to understand your options and the best way to give, and more importantly, ensuring you have a plan in place that doesn't neglect your personal needs and security. Foremost in most women's minds is wanting to grow their wealth within their risk profiles and values. When you're investing to build wealth, here are a few key financial strategies that are absolute must haves for any investment plan. Most of you are likely familiar with the key strategies of pay yourself first, investing with a long term view, the power of compound growth, and how investing regularly helps you take advantage of dollar cost averaging. We do often find, though, that asset allocation and really understanding tax saving opportunities are not always properly evaluated when looking at building wealth. This can be especially important because women are often more conservative investors and have greater saving needs given a longer life expectancy. Women are more likely to think about investing in the context of bigger picture goals, not just the next hot stock. Women tend to think in terms of, what does my portfolio need to get me where I'm going? Not, hey, my portfolio's up 8% or 20%. Proper asset allocation is a critical ingredient that can really smooth out the impacts of market moves. Typically, more than 90% of any portfolio's variability depends on having the right asset mix to potentially maximize the level of return that you'll get for the market risk you're comfortable with. We accomplish this by diversifying your investment portfolio across the right variety of asset classes, investment styles, geography, and market capitalization options to achieve your goals. How we determine the right asset allocation for you depends on us asking the right questions. That's right, we will sit and talk about things first. And once we know what your goals are, we can help determine how much money you'll need to achieve them. From there, we determine how long you have to save towards the goal, and then figure out how much risk you're willing to take. All of this important information is fed into our proprietary financial planning model that creates your personal and specific asset allocation mix and expected rate of return. We won't ever move forward with investment recommendations for you without taking this first and very important step. Even once we have your suggested investment mix drafted, we then work with you to take a step back and consider all the possible tax implications and tax savings you may be able to take advantage of. What type of investment should you own? Should they generate interest, dividends, or capital gains? Each of these types of returns is taxed differently, so it's important that you understand all of it and the right portions of your investment portfolio go into the right type of investment. Again, depending on your goals. We'll also sit down and review your personal tax returns to help identify tax deductions that you may not have even considered. For example, what would be the impact of maximizing your RSP contributions now instead of in February? Are there income splitting opportunities for you? Maximizing tax deductions and tax credits can go a long way to building your wealth faster. We'll also help you look at the entire variety of tax deferral options that are available today, like RRSPs, tax-free savings accounts. Why pay tax when you don't need to? The bottom line is that taxes can really impact your investments and your plan. Including tax planning into your financial planning is something we truly take to heart on your behalf. So let's pause here for a moment to underscore the important flip side or risk management side of the story and how important preservation is to protect your wealth and yourself. Far too few of us invest in protection. Many women believe that they don't need any insurance. Single women without dependents might think that they aren't leaving any children behind, so there's no need for insurance. Or perhaps you believe your partner's insurance will cover everything, but think beyond just life insurance for a moment. As we can all relate to, there's nothing more constant than change. Insurance is an important solution to discuss with your advisor. Simply, it's designed to replace income. We'll discuss insurance again later when we look at retirement and estate planning. But we wanted to underscore up front how important it is to ensure that truly holistic plan will evaluate and incorporate the right insurance choices for your life today and the life you want to live tomorrow. It's also not as expensive as you might think. Planning for your personalized retirement can be an exciting time. Creating a clear picture of this fulfilling stage of life is the culmination of years of hard work, financial discipline, and successful planning. But just as in any other stage of life, understanding the risk that retirees face is a critical step to ensuring that all of your carefully executed plans are not undone at this fulfilling point of your life. And as you look towards your financial plan for retirement, it's important that your personal goals and concerns are being addressed. For most people in or near retirement, the biggest challenge is changing from accumulating wealth to turning it into a predictable stream of income. Don't rely on rules of thumb. There's no one-size-fits-all solution for managing retirement income. An important reminder, and you might be surprised that many people lose sight of this, is you can still optimize your RSP until your 70s with the tax advantage of investments and the ability to keep adding to your RSP until the end of the year you turn 71. Think about that. The investments are tax-free in there, and women should keep putting money in there if they have room, and that means keeping some money coming in. Very important. Also, don't forget TFSAs, which remain an important vehicle, particularly if you have an emergency fund for the unexpected. It's helpful to think of retirement not as an event, but as a journey through stages from before you're retired to newly retired to once you're settled in as a retiree. This journey has an effect on how you'll view your retirement nest egg over time. During your working years, many of us are used to receiving a regular paycheck. In retirement, that single paycheck may either cease or become part of many other sources of income. So you think of your multiple sources of retirement income as forming a retirement paycheck. Managing the amount from each source and trying to minimize the taxes you pay on these incomes means you keep more now and possibly increase the value of your estate. The number of people living alone in Canada is rising at all stages of the life cycle. As women age, they're more likely to live alone, meaning they need to make planning their finances a priority. But even if you live alone, that doesn't mean you need to tackle your finances by yourself. At each transition, look to the supports you need, whether from family and friends or professional advisors that can help identify your goals and put plans in place to help meet them. Estate planning is a critical aspect of your overall financial plan, yet the topic of estate planning is pretty broad and can mean different things to different people. In my experience, I find that many people think of an estate plan as simply a will kit they get online, but an estate plan can in fact be comprised of many components, where the will itself is the critical central component. We always encourage people that it's never too early or too late to prepare, to ensure that you've provided clarity for yourself and your family, considered all possible changing dynamics, and understanding all the roles and other implications that are involved. For example, a properly drafted will can nominate guardians for any children who are minors, designate a personal representative or executor to distribute your estate, provide a fair distribution of your estate, particularly in cases of blended families and common law couples, provide for optimal outcomes where a beneficiary has special needs, and create trust for your children who are too young to manage large sums of money. It's surprising how many women have not yet written a will, and although you're all amazing and seem invincible, you will pass on one day, and without a properly executed will, your estate could be divided in a way you would not have wanted. For example, someone will be appointed to administer your estate rather than you choosing the person you want. Your preference to a guardian for the children may go unknown. Your assets may be frozen for a much longer period of time, which means no one has access to money or property until the estate is settled. A minor's inheritance may be frozen until he or she reaches the age of majority. At that age of majority, they'll be entitled to their portion of the estate, which may be too soon. Taxes payable by your estate and or by your heirs may be higher than if you had implemented an estate plan. We've said it before in this presentation, and this estate planning section is no different. Tax can take a big bite out of your financial assets. That's why tax planning is a critical part of your overall estate planning. And while a lot of discussion on tax planning in the context of an estate focuses on probate taxes, In most cases, it's income taxes that can take the biggest bite out of your estate. Planning to reduce the income taxes your estate pays can be a very effective way to leave more to the people and causes you care about. It's also important to speak to your advisor about how insurance plays a critical role in estate planning. We have a team of insurance and estate planning specialists in our wealth planning team that can engage when doing your plan. Finally, you might think that estate planning is a one-time thing, but like other aspects of financial planning, it's actually an ongoing process. The needs change as your life changes over time. One of the biggest mistakes in estate planning is to prepare a will and then think you're done with that area of your financial plans. But we can't emphasize enough to clients how important it is to regularly review your will, especially when life changes. Historically, businesses incorporated in order to protect shareholders from creditors and liabilities of the business. Because the corporation is a separate body or entity from the shareholders, legally the liability of shareholders is limited to their investment in the corporation. For many businesses, however, incorporating for creditor protection is not entirely effective. Some shareholders must provide personal guarantees to the corporation's lenders to secure financing. For professionals, the legislation governing incorporation generally holds the individual professional liable for all services and advice related to the practice of their profession. The corporate structure only provides protection against the claims of trade creditors. As a result, many professionals, the reason to incorporate is for the potential tax benefits, not liability or creditor protection. In general terms, the tax benefits of incorporating have included tax deferral, income splitting, and capital gains exemption on the sale of the practice. The capital dividend account is also a key tax benefit, and life insurance creates a substantial CDA credit. Let's take a look at the example for Linda and why in her situation incorporation is a great option. Taxes vary by province, so in this case, let's assume Linda's personal marginal tax rate is 50%. Assume she pays $30,000 on the first $90,000 of income and 50% on any excess income. If she continues as a sole proprietor, her taxes on the first $200,000 of income would be $85,000. After she spends her $60,000, this would only leave her with $55,000 to invest personally. If she incorporates, she can defer taxes on the funds she doesn't need personally. Let's assume her small business corporate tax rate is 12.5% on the first $500,000 of income. Inside the corporation, she will pay only $25,000 of taxes, leaving her with $175,000 after tax. She can then take out $90,000 as dividend to net $60,000 personally, leaving her with $85,000 inside corporation to invest and take advantage of corporate tax deferral. The tax deferral benefits will be even bigger once the business becomes more profitable. The corporation can then be used as a retirement vehicle for Linda, with the funds taken out in retirement when the marginal tax bracket is lower. Another big benefit of incorporation is limited liability. Linda may still need to provide personal guarantees to the bank, but otherwise her condo and personal assets should be protected if the business is in trouble, as opposed to Linda carrying on the business as a sole proprietor. If you're a business owner, at some point you'll stop working in the business, whether temporarily or permanently. What will happen to your business then? Although succession planning may sound more formal than you need, it just means planning for what happens to your business if and when you're not there to run it. So you have lots of options and lots of factors to consider. You could identify a successor such as a family member, could be an existing employee of the business, could sell it to a third party. You could have a short-term successor prior to passing on the business to your children. You need to consider how quickly you need your capital, what your retirement needs are, and you also need to consider any existing buy-sell or shareholder agreements. Also, insurance is a key funding source for many succession planning situations, and funding things like estate taxes and equalization should also be considered. When thinking about charitable giving and how it incorporates in your overall financial plan, in addition to the Melinda Gates quote we've included here, I've also come across this great quote from Rianka Dorsainville, founder and president of Your Greatest Contribution. She said, "Put your financial oxygen mask on first. Being a first generation wealth builder, you want to help everyone around you because you're financially better off. However, you have to make sure you're financially taken care of before you can help your community. Simply put, although many of us are eager to help others, whether family or charitable causes, we need to first look at our financial well being and how we're best positioned to share our wealth. Although you may give because you're a giving person, giving to charity should be planned like all of your other finances so that you can get the most out of your giving. Think in terms of strategic philanthropy, where a carefully constructed living plan helps create a legacy of giving that expresses your values and the causes you care about. So, a few key considerations. Don't wait to donate until your death. Instead, give during your lifetime to maximize tax benefits, and so your giving already begins to have an impact for others. Making charitable decisions now also kickstarts the discussion for families about how money will be transferred between generations. Children can sit on the boards of private foundations, and they can be involved in discussions about what causes it should support. Lastly, especially when looking at a longer term strategy, it's very important to evaluate when to donate, what to donate, and how. There are several advantages to planning carefully in order to maximize the benefits of your charitable giving, especially when it comes to tax efficiency. Thinking long term about the implications of your overall estate's tax liability and your family's well being. Before we get into the various methods of planned giving, we should provide some background on the tax implications. The federal government has supported the objectives of increasing bequests and other estate gifts by implementing legislation designed to encourage more and large gifts to charities from individual Canadians. These incentives make planned gifts even more attractive to potential donors. The maximum amount of charitable donations you can claim is 75% of your net income, plus 25% of any capital gain incurred upon the gift of capital property. Where a sizable gift has been made causing these limits to be exceeded, there is a 5-year carry-forward provision which should allow for the entire donation to be claimed over 5 years if necessary. If the gift is made at death and received by a charity within the first 60 months after the date of death, this limit is increased to 100% of your net income in the year of your death, and if necessary, 100% of your net income in the year preceding the year of your death, minus donation receipts already applied with respect to that year. Your executor has the further ability to apply any portion of the donation receipt to an income tax return on the estate subject to a 5-year carry-forward rule. When a corporation makes a charitable gift, the corporation receives a tax deduction, which reduces its income and will therefore reduce the taxes it has to pay. When a charitable gift is made personally, it results in a charitable donation tax credit, which will reduce tax that was otherwise payable. Both on a personal level and a corporate level, the limit on the amount of charitable donation that may be claimed in a given year is 75% of net income, and if the credit or deduction is not used, it can be carried forward 5 years. Also, capital gains are eliminated for both personal and corporate gifts of public securities when the gift is made in kind. Now we'll discuss 3 different case studies that are inspired by real client stories. We aren't using their real names. As you'll see, each woman has her own unique story, life circumstances, and goals. So let's take the case of Susan. She's at the peak of her earnings and has amassed substantial wealth, including share units in her employer's company. She's also been through a big life transition as she's recently divorced and reached a support arrangement with her ex-spouse. Finally, her parenting responsibilities are not quite over as she's supporting an adult child through grad school. Susan's big questions are about how she can meet her own goals as well as the financial obligations she has to others. She wonders, should she change her goals, retire later than she's hoping? Should she change her behavior? Would saving more help to reach her goal of retiring before age 65? Lastly, she wasn't sure what else she should be considering. Although she didn't know it, Susan was really asking for an integrated financial plan, one that takes into account her current situation, her obligations and resources, and her plans for the future. We were able to look at each of these pieces of the puzzle in turn and run various scenarios to project what's needed to deliver the life that Susan wants. We identified that if she does nothing else, she's projected to run out of money by age 81 or 82. If she works part-time for 5 years after age 65, she's projected to run out of money at 91 or 92. If she downsizes her house, she's projected to have net positive cash flow for her life. Also, additional savings were required to provide an emergency fund or a cushion in case of unexpected expenses. And lastly, with all of her focus on her son coming through a divorce and focus on her job, she hadn't really focused on her long-term well-being and care to ensure she would be protected. So tying it all together, we gave Susan the peace of mind and confidence that she would be okay while helping her son. She can understand her current and future financial picture. She can make informed plans for her future and see the steps that she'll need to take now and going forward to make sure she stays on track. So let's take a look at the situation of Marie Claire. Like many women, she's balancing multiple priorities. Her mother, Florence, who's requiring increasing levels of care, as well as ensuring she's communicating clearly and fairly the values and needs of her other siblings. Somewhere in there, Marie Claire must also plan for her own retirement together with her partner. Marie Claire and her spouse Sophie have some financial strategies in place, but they're wondering if those strategies are the optimal ones for their situation and goals. They're also looking ahead to Florence's passing and wondering what steps they can take to reduce the tax burden her estate might face. Marie Claire and Sophie's consultant was able to take a step back and put the whole family's situation into context. Then, once the bigger picture was in focus, the strategies to help deliver the goals they were hoping for became clear, including specific strategies to reduce the tax Florence might face. If Marie Claire and Sophie sell their cottage and invest the proceeds and do nothing else, they will add 13 years to their retirement savings. Their IG Living plan even went one step further and identified how Marie Claire and Sophie could purchase a last-to-die $100,000 permanent life insurance policy that the net estate would increase by 12%. So, in tying it all together, Marie Claire is now confident that her mother's funds are being used tax efficiently, that her tax at death will be reduced, and that the value of her estate will be preserved. Marie Claire and Sophie have greater clarity and reassurance in their financial security and retirement. And most importantly, Marie Claire feels that she and her family have financial plans that reflect all of their circumstances, priorities, and values. Sometimes the changes we face in planning our financial future are sudden and unexpected. When life takes a left turn and veers off the path you've been planning, what are the right next steps for you? So take the case of Eva, unexpectedly widowing after caring for her husband in the last months of his life. She's caring for her 2 young children and wants to pick up the career she'd put on hold to meet her family responsibilities. How does a financial plan fit in? Eva's situation has multiple moving parts. She's meeting her day-to-day spending needs through the cash flow from her husband's critical illness policy and the death benefit from his life insurance policy, but those sources of income won't last forever. Although she's planning to return to work to generate income, she also wants to understand how the pieces of her broader financial situation fit together. What strategy should she consider in order to meet her financial needs today and tomorrow? First, we looked at how Eva's self-employment income could fit into her financial picture, including planning for tax as it comes due. Review her existing mortgage and how it can accommodate the flexibility she might count on as she ramps up her self-employment income. Both Eva and her children are eligible for monthly benefits from the Canada Pension Plan as a result of her husband's early passing, and her planner helped her understand and incorporate these amounts into her financial plan. Eva also wants to plan for the cost of her children's post-secondary education if they decide to pursue it, as well as her own retirement. As part of that, even though Eva didn't directly ask about insurance, she understood the importance of protecting herself and her children. She was non-reg invested in a very conservative 1% account, leaving only 78% of her retirement goals funded. We determined that if she adjusts her non-registered account, proceeds from the life insurance, from cash to 50% equity and 50% fixed income, she could increase the retirement funding to 92%. And if she were to go into a 67% equity and 33% fixed income, she would have 97% of her retirement goals funded. Our comprehensive view into Eva's situation helped ensure she has a plan that's flexible enough to manage and address the uncertainty of her situation while providing a foundation of security. To understand where her income is coming from now and how to fold her future income from self-employment into her plans. Count on the protection from fluctuating income that her mortgage provides for her, and look forward to meeting the financial needs of her children as they grow, as well as her own needs as she moves forwards and transitions into retirement. Thank you for taking the time to go through this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a direct message through any of my social media platforms or leave a comment below. So in summary, given that women's longer lives, multidimensional life journeys, and higher lifetime health and healthcare costs compound over time, these are important realities that will affect your long-term financial well-being. So take a moment to pause here, reflect on your life and your own living plan, because there's so many considerations that we each have to our own unique story. Further, meeting women's financial needs isn't just a matter of fine-tuning existing products and services. You need strategies and support from an advisor who's aligned with your needs and experiences at all of your life stages. Each stage has a different set of complexities. What are the right decisions that need to be taken at the right time and with the right partners to ensure long-term success for you and those you love? Many investment advisors will only focus on how your portfolio is performing. While portfolio performance is important, it's only one component of your overall financial well-being in a comprehensive financial plan. Comprehensive financial planning focuses on meeting your needs over both the short and long term, and on increasing certainty in all areas of your financial future. So these areas include managing your cash flow efficiently over time to maximize tax planning opportunities today and in retirement, optimizing for a robust and tested retirement plan to reduce concern and risk, planning for the unexpected, including health or disability risks, so your plan stays on course and doesn't get derailed, creating a financial legacy plan that matches your goals and desires and helps fulfill them in a tax-efficient and meaningful way. And through all this, planning for all major expenses and working with other professional advisors such as your lawyer and accountant to incorporate your business into your personal financial plans. So we're supported by a team of professionals with specialized expertise in tax and estate planning, securities and insurance protection, business succession planning, and more. To ensure a coordinated approach, we recommend integrating your personal advisors with our team in any of your planning. So thank you again for watching this video. If you know somebody else who might enjoy it, please feel free to share it with them. And please feel free to comment or send me a message if you have any questions. Thank you.